absolutely ridiculous. They'll believe anything. They'll believe anything. Maybe. Cancel culture. What do these two words mean to you? To some, this is not even a real thing. This is just people, trying to help make society better. But to other people, this is an extremely serious thing. So what's the truth? We're going to get into this today. And luckily, Abby, we have a guest again, right? We haven't had a guest for a while.
A new guest.
Yeah, so it's a guest. It's someone I've known for quite a long time. Actually, almost my entire time in Taiwan, so about 14 years. And I can remember having many great conversations with him. So welcome, Neil. Good to see you.
Thank you, Richard.
All right. So thank you for joining us. I'm sure you're going to help give us some nice nuance and some different opinions, which
I'll
we
try.
always enjoy.
Yeah, I enjoy your podcast.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and why don't you give us a little introduction? Just tell us who you are.
Okay, let me see. Well, my name is Neil. I'm from Canada. Like Richard, I've been here for, 16 years, I suppose. And I'm a teacher, elementary school teacher. That's pretty much it.
Okay,
I enjoy my life here.
Yeah. Yes, I remember when I first met Neil. I mean, it was, pretty close to 2008, the financial crisis, right?
Yes.
And we got into all the investing talk. And I always remember we saw that Bank of America and stuff was $1 a share. We kicked ourselves because we missed the opportunity.
We missed it,
right?
yeah.
So. All right. So, and Abby, nice to see you.
Yeah. Nice to see you on Saturday.
Yeah, every second week instead of every week now, but we're doing a good job with that. Right. So let's get into this. But before we do, I know what people should do.
Remind people.
Yeah, I want to do a little visualization exercise. I want you to imagine that person you hate. It could be the person who's making the world bad. It could be Brandon. It could be Putin.
Let's go, Brendan.
It could be that annoying coworker at work, always steals your lunch. And I want you to visualize and put that person's face in your brain. And then take your finger and hold it over that like button and crush the like button.
Wow, very creative.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, well, we're going to do a compilation at
That's
some
great.
point, so I kind of feel like I need to do
we-
this every week.
We can edit it like every time you introduce this part for a new video.
But really, please give us a hand with this. Actually, it's good that Neil's here because a few days or weeks ago, he messaged me and he said, hey, man, I'm subscribed to your channel and it never comes up in my feed. I know some other people who've said it. My fiance said it to me 2 days ago. She
I
said,
even looked for it. I searched. No idea, right? That's the
Yeah.
name of it, and couldn't find it.
yeah, so I'm not saying I know why this is happening, but I've heard from other people. I know we do talk about some risky-ish kind of topics. Maybe that's why. But like my fiance said, she said she watched a video from like one channel one time a year ago, and that keeps getting recommended to her. But she's watched a whole lot of our videos, and it never gets recommended. So if you can give us a like, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And even better, share one of our videos with a friend, and we'll keep producing content and hopefully better content and one day subtitles. So yeah, 按赞
分享
订阅.
nice.
Yeah, got it, huh?
Yeah.
Practicing, right?
中文有
job.
进步。
All right, so let's get into this, right? So, I mean, cancel culture, we were discussing it earlier. You had an example of cancel culture. What was that, what you told us?
Yeah, well, probably, unless you're Canadian, you probably wouldn't know this. But when I was growing up, Saturday nights was the night where everybody watches Hockey Night in Canada.
Okay.
And there's a reporter or I guess a host. His name is Don Cherry. And we have a Remembrance Day, which we remember our fallen soldiers.
Okay.
And we wear this poppy. It's called a poppy. We wear it on our shirt. And he was just saying that, new Canadians coming in, they should, follow the culture and wear the poppy. But he said, you people.
Oh.
And, of course, the left, would think that's racist.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
We should channel Greta. How dare you?
How dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was canceled because of that, because he refused to apologize. And, it was sad because, 38 years he was on TV every
Sure.
Saturday. So
Yeah, but I'd like to add a word.
Yeah.
Such as sad, it's ridiculous.
it's ridiculous,
Because
really.
it's about intent. I don't think he had the intent there.
He did not. No.
Yeah, I saw a guy in the government somewhere, I forget where in the world. He said that men and women are not the same, and he lost his job in the government.
Wow.
Yeah, so you figure that
Crazy.
one out.
Yeah,
Abby, do you know any?
but for a quick reminder, what's for the Taiwanese people, like what is a you people mean to the Western?
I think you people
Okay.
often came from like a racist kind of a thing, right? People say you people, and
Different
it was like
colors means different
singling out a specific race.
races.
So
Oh,
you
okay.
people might be like you saying all you black people, or all you white people, all you
Oh,
whoever.
different races.
Yeah, you often see this in Hollywood movies. Someone says you people, and everyone around goes you people, and it leads to some
Oh.
bad place.
People have
Okay.
become very sensitive.
Sure. So yeah, lots of examples of cancel culture, but to be honest with you guys, that's not the direction I wanted to take this today. So
Okay.
for me, I have a question that I'm trying to ask, and the context to this is I'm someone who likes to look at the trends and think about which world we're creating for later on. So what world are we creating through this cancel culture is my question. And I wanted to show you guys some examples that are not like the one you talked about. Because, look, I mean, the hockey thing, I agree with you. It's sad. It's also ridiculous and stuff. But it might affect the culture in a small way. But I think that there are other examples that are going to be really affecting the culture in a much bigger way that we should be focusing on. So the first one is our good friend, right? The virus, the vaccine, the whole thing.
It shows up in almost every week.
Yeah. So on November the 2nd last year, the British Medical Journal got, how would you say, censored by Facebook.
Oh,
Didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Now, this is a medical journal. I mean, so
Sounds
for people
like
that know.
should be opposite. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Because the medical journals are
Yeah.
the ones where they publish the information, where they show a lot of the research that's being done. But somehow Facebook believed that this was okay for them to do it, right? So I found a few websites, and you can see here. So they said there are multiple efforts underway in the US to pass laws that require social media sites to take down medical misinformation. And you can kind of see that over here. So this is something that's been happening a lot. I think everyone here, we've all seen this, right? I mean, they're trying to say,
Yeah.
listen, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, wherever you are. I mean, they even censored the ex-president of America, right?
That's right. They kicked them off Twitter.
Which
Or-
is ridiculous, right? But this is what they did. Now they're doing it with Facebook, right? And yeah, so this is one website that talks about it, and it says, first off, the British Medical Journal is not in any way anti-vaccine. It actually says that they were a key player in exposing the fraudulent behavior of its Dr. Andrew Wakefield, who had a fraudulent study that created the modern anti-vax movement. So they aren't exactly anti-vax, whatever that now means in the world, because now even if you're not, if you don't agree with mandates, you're anti-vax.
So I have the vaccine, but if I disagree with mandates, I'm
You're
classified
anti-vax.
as anti-vax. But
Correct.
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all, and actually changed the definition in the dictionary, which we've shown on some
Yeah.
other
Ah.
videos. So that's pretty ridiculous, right? And then you can see that after this happened, here's another website here. Facebook censors the British Medical Journal, and they said, Wayne gatekeepers go rogue, right? So you see one of the world's premier medical journals locked horns with Facebook and the gatekeepers of international fact-checking, and after one of its investigations was wrongly labeled with missing context and censored. So, I think basically, I don't want to read this entire website for people, but what they were talking about was inconsistencies with Pfizer's vaccine trials. Right.
What do you mean by
Well, the trials for the
Inconsistencies.
vaccines, the medical trials to make sure that they were safe, that's what these guys were talking about. They were saying, listen, there are some...
You mean
like-
the media, the attitude to?
No, how Pfizer was doing the trials. From what I understand, the trials weren't all done in one location. They were like, the responsibility was spread out to different countries and different companies. But some of the companies weren't actually doing the job very, very well. And that's what they're trying to do. They were trying to say, hey, have a look here. There are some concerns. And you can see here, they also talk about it. They said experience has highlighted serious concerns about fact-checking being undertaken by third-party providers on Facebook. All right. So yeah, but this is a group of people who were trying to say, hey, listen, here are some inconsistencies when it comes to the vaccine trials, and they get censored. Right. Really strange, right? Because, I mean, surely if there were any problems, it would be great if people were alerted earlier rather than later, right?
Yeah. And then push it too quickly, right?
Yeah. So then moving on to that, this happened recently, like 2 to 3 weeks ago. There is a guy, and I'll show you who he is here. His name is Joan Ramon Laporte.
Sounds French.
Yeah, and this is a guy, I think he's Spanish, actually. I think he
Spanish?
might be Spanish. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, he's from Barcelona, right?
Okay.
And this is a guy who's a renowned expert. An expert in what? Drug safety.
Okay.
And this guy actually got censored by 2 other people. I think it's called Nutrell and Maldita. It's been 2 fact-checking organizations. And they actually said that this guy was spreading lies and disinformation when he testified in the Spanish parliament. All right, so he went to the government to testify to Parliament, and they said he was spreading lies and misinformation. And then the video from Parliament got banned by YouTube.
Crazy.
This is a guy who is
An expert.
an expert in drug safety. I mean, surely you'd want this guy's opinion to be taken.
What's his education? Is he a
So he's
PhD?
he's an honorary professor of pharmacology,
Oh, so he has a
therapeutics, and
PhD.
toxicology at the University Autónoma de Barcelona.
Okay.
And here it says, for over 40 years, I've worked as a consultant and researcher with the Department of Health of the Catalan government, the Spanish Ministry of Health, the Spanish Medicines Agency, the European Medicines Agency, the World Health Organization, the UN, UNICEF, and the World Bank in more than 40 countries.
Wow.
Who has the right
To-
to censor this guy?
So who's in control?
That's the problem. Who is?
Yeah, they didn't
Big
say
tech,
that, right?
Yeah. And the problem here is like where, as they said in their previous website, like, are there standards that the fact checkers are supposed to adhere to?
Sounds,
Actually, no.
sounds
Yeah.
like we need a fact check to check the fact check.
That's right.
I would
Yeah.
agree. That's a pretty good
Different
comment,
area.
right?
Very good. Yeah.
So, I mean, and if you see a lot of these things, just recently, they were said in the news, there was an article, and it was saying that the US had doubled their imports of oil from Russia over the last year. And there was a fact check, and it said, mostly false. And if you look underneath, it said, well, the US did, in fact, double its... And then I think they played with the word crude oil versus some other oil.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's semantics, right? You're
It's
playing with a little bit of
semantics.
words,
Yeah.
and then you're doing a fact check. But then the people who read this say, oh, it's fact checked, and they just
There's a-
believe.
It reminds me of the BLM protest. They were mostly peaceful.
Mostly peaceful, yeah. Said by a reporter with a building burning behind him, right? So let's go back to my question, all right? What world are we creating by doing this?
A very sensitive world.
Yeah, but I think more than that. Like, if we look into the future, what kind of world, when it comes specifically to this, to medical stuff, into science, are we creating?
I think they will play with the narrative. They will try to make a narrative only fits what they want.
Okay. So then let me make it more real for you guys. Let's say this. Let's say there is a new sickness and a new vaccine that comes out. And there's a young, brilliant scientist who has a look at this new vaccine and says, oh, there's a huge problem here. Is that guy going to feel comfortable to come out and say what he's found?
Well, that already happened in China with the doctor. Remember the doctor who died?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to keep it hypothetical because...
Okay, hypothetical, yeah.
Yeah, just so that we don't get in trouble saying something, right? But I'm talking about the future world.
Okay, future.
So is that guy going to risk his career? Is he going to risk getting tenure at a university?
Or-
Will he feel comfortable to come out and say, hey, everybody, I've seen something. Let's warn the people.
Or they will doubt themselves. They will think, oh, am I right? They will think maybe I'm wrong. They will try to hide their thoughts.
So they might doubt themselves, or they might just say, listen, I'm going to shut up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything because that's going to threaten me personally. And let's say he wants to say something, but he's just gotten married and he has a young child.
He need his job. He didn't want to make fuss.
yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to save his career and yeah.
So it really makes me think, right? If you look at, let's talk about somebody like Julian Assange.
I don't know much about. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that guy actually showed that the government was doing something bad.
Yes, he did.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Why isn't that guy being praised and held up as an example? Why is he being punished? And why is he still in jail when all he did was try to expose the government's doing something bad?
Wasn't he brought up on treason?
Yeah, and then there was also some stuff about Sweden saying he might have raped someone, and then I don't know. It's a very, very confusing thing. And then he was in the Ecuadorian embassy for a long time, and I think now he's in jail in Britain, possibly going to be extradited to the US, which will be very sad for him. But I mean, just if you forget his name for a minute, think about the concept. Surely, if there's someone who's risking their lives to, and their careers to warn everybody else that people are doing something bad, why are we not celebrating these people? I don't get it. And then I ask you another question. What do you guys think of burning your country's flag? If somebody wanted to burn the Canadian flag because they weren't happy with something, what would you think?
I disagree with it.
You disagree with it,
Yeah.
but anything else?
Well, I never thought about that before. But I mean, for me personally, like to burn the Canadian flag, I mean, yeah, or even, to burn the Taiwanese flag for a Taiwanese person. It's a very disgraceful.
So I think that I agree with you that a lot of the time I don't agree when people do it. But I will fight for them to have the possibility, the right to do it. Because if you live in a country where you can't burn the flag, you're not free. Surely, if you can burn the flag, this shows, it's a representation that you live in a free society, that even though a lot of people might dislike what you're doing, you have the freedom to do it. You have the freedom to say, hey, I'm unhappy with what my government's doing. I'm unhappy. Whether you're right or wrong factually, the fact is that you have that ability to make your voice heard, and that's freedom.
So there's a word, consequences. How do you say that in Chinese?
Consequences.
Consequences.
后果.
I'm not sure, but there are consequences for for every action. So the consequences for burning the flag, for example, years ago, I don't know if you guys know the singer Sinead O'Connor, but she ripped up the picture of the Pope. The Pope, the Catholic Tianzhu Jiao. She ripped up his picture, and she was. I mean, it was legal for her to do, but she had to deal with the consequences, which she wasn't invited back on that show in America.
Well, that's perfectly fine, right?
Well, yeah. But I mean, there
You're
are
allowed to do
consequences.
it.
Yes, she was allowed to do it.
Sure.
Well, I don't know if she was allowed,
yeah.
but I mean, she had to pay the consequences for her actions.
Or maybe other people won't be happy, so they was I'm not sure like we're gonna co-worker with you or just. I think probably she will lose some opportunities.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So those are consequences, right? So you have to think about that before you do something.
Yeah, I mean, look, definitely there can be consequences. If let's say I want to burn the flag because of something silly, I should be able to burn the flag. But most people will disagree with me,
But
and then I'll have to have the consequences of that.
Yeah.
It's like you have the freedom to offend people. Freedom of speech means I'm free to offend you, but doesn't mean I'm free from the consequences. If
That's
I
right.
offend you, I have the right to do it. If you never want to talk to me again, that's the consequence.
That's the
I pay.
consequence. Yeah. Now, do people think about the consequences before their actions, though?
These days, hard to say.
It's
right?
hard to say.
I'm not sure if people do. What do you think?
Well, as I get older, I mean, when I was younger, I never did think about consequences. But as I get older, I do realize that, if I yell at my boss or if I say something inappropriate, there are going to be consequences for my behavior. So
Sure, I agree. I think that the conversation I have with people a lot is thinking about the future. And like I'm saying today, the world that you want to create. Like, it's a similar concept to like even with retirement. It's like people say don't retire from something, retire to something. That's how you do it successfully. But that means that you have to take action earlier on to ensure that later on you have something good. You can't wake up when you're 65 and then create this world, to create the relationships and friends and
that's right.
the healthy body. You have to do all those things in advance. So I don't think when your question was, do people do this? I don't see evidence of that much at all.
Well, especially if you watch the media or if you watch YouTube and you see, protests and everything.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize, like, I suppose some of these people must realize that what they're doing is tribal. That it's not really that they truly believe the issue often. It's because they're just doing it to be part of a tribe. But if you were forward thinking, you'd say, right, well, if I do that on my side and the guys on the other side keep doing that, all we're going to do is contribute to a more polarized world in the future.
that leads into virtue signaling.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, virtue signaling. Although sometimes even then, you look at certain issues and you think, can this really be virtue signaling?
What's the word for virtue signaling?
I'm not quite sure the concept of the.
So virtue is like you are good, and signaling is showing others. So virtue signaling is like
I feel I'm so good.
So you post something on Facebook more because you want your friends to see it and think you're good.
Yeah, that's true. It's not about sharing things. It's about showing I'm good.
That's right.
So it's all like a selfishly motivated thing. But yeah, let's move on to this. So that was the first example I have. The next one I want to talk to you guys is about Russia.
Oh, touchy subject.
So,
very sad.
Well, I'm talking about cancel culture, though, right?
Okay, cancel culture.
So, can you guys guess what's being cancelled that's related to Russia at the moment? I don't think you'll be able to guess.
Poutine is now it's being cancelled.
Poutine? You mean the Canadian French fries?
What?
Yeah, man, we're cancelling French fries.
Well, let me explain for the audience. Let me explain what it is because I'm Canadian. It's French fries with gravy and cheese curds. Not cheese curds, which is the byproduct of cheese. And it's actually tastes delicious. But anyway, that's called poutine.
I do this with people all the time. Short I, long E.
I gotta find the pictures of
Putin.
Yeah. All right, so I mean, Putin's kind of being cancelled. I think it's hard to cancel him, though. But what else? So I'm going to give you guys a list.
All right.
Cats.
Cats?
No way.
Russian cats are not allowed to go to cat competitions.
What?
Yeah. I mean, hold on. Let me see if I can find it for you.
I've never even heard of a cat competition.
I've actually got them over here. Yeah, here we go. International Feline Federation
God,
bans Russian cats from all competitions. No, come on, because look at that. That cat is evil.
It is.
Looks bad.
So some granny who lives in England,
looks evil,
who's got a Russian cat, now is not going to be able to take her to a competition. This makes a lot of sense. All right, so cats is one. How about FIFA?
Oh, yes, the soccer, right?
FIFA and UEFA ban Russia and its soccer teams from all competitions.
Oh.
Or as the British would say, football.
Football, exactly right. We know about the banks and the SWIFT system.
Yeah.
Okay. What about video games?
Video game?
Yeah.
Airbnb?
Let's have a look. No, these are news outlets. The video games I've seen, it's EA Sports has been banning them.
Oh.
And here's some more. Russian news outlets are banned.
Archie?
Right. Russian vodka has been banned in certain states.
Oh.
Yeah. And I mean, the list keeps going. So it's sports. They want to ban the .ru from the internet, the internet URL.
WRU?
Right. They are also Google Pay and Apple Pay stopped Russian people from being able to use their apps. So that when they went on the MRT, their subway system, all of a sudden the people couldn't get on the trains. News websites, I showed you that. I mean, it just keeps going on and on and on.
I think delivery, they from the ocean. The boat delivery
the
also
boats,
canceled.
Yeah, so a lot of the Russian, the rich people from Russia have had their possessions taken away from them.
Oh, yeah.
But think about this, right? Like, so what? So you're a sports person just because you're Russian, now you can't play sport?
I think they try to use that to threaten the president.
Yeah,
Putin.
but let's go back to my question. What world does this create?
Sounds like socialism.
Yeah, but if you think about it, Russia has known about the SWIFT system threat for more than 10 years. They have their own payment system. So does China.
Yeah.
If you kick them off, just like when they kicked people off of Twitter, they moved to Parler first. Now they're going to another different one.
Yeah.
You're pushing them to use a different system. They're not going to just say, oh, well, you kicked us off, right, we're never going to transfer money again. They're going to find new ways.
So it sounds like they're creating a two-pronged system.
Sure, which actually, if you have like from the unipolar world moving to a multipolar world, might not be the worst thing. Because, having one country or one massive power, anytime you have the centralization of power, it's open for abuse.
But that seems to have already taken place when it comes to YouTube, for example, algorithms. I would consider myself a centrist, which is, sort of
myself as well.
Yeah.
Classical liberal.
Classical liberal, yeah. But I mean, your algorithms determine what you see. So, one of my best friends, Leo, he's liberal, and we totally disagree on things, but we also agree it's because we watch different, the algorithms that we watch are totally different.
Yeah, no, sure. I had
It's a
another friend like
brainwashing.
this, and he came to my house the one day, and we were arguing about something, and he said, I need to show you something. Let me use your computer. And he got onto Google, and then he said, man, there's something wrong with your Google.
Something wrong?
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
Because he was like typing in stuff, and it was coming up stuff for me. And later on, like he said to this guy, I was like, and I don't think he ever really caught what I was saying. But I said to him, I said, you're going to find your information. I'm going to find my information. How are we ever going to prove who's right?
That's right.
So it's just like it's becoming impossible to have conversations because of all of this banning. And if you think about it, let's say you're an American and you want to fight against Putin. Don't you want to know what that guy's thinking?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think they try to find the answer through the media, the mainstream media.
Yeah, remember, not mainstream.
The
Establishment media. They're not the mainstream
Establishment
media.
media.
We're
Yeah.
changing that one. But like you want to know what people are thinking. And we've often talked about this, right? Like if somebody has some kind of a hateful view, if you stop those types of people from talking, what are they going to do? They're going to give up their view? No, they're going to go underground. And they're going to start
Yeah.
discussing it and finding like-minded people,
Yeah.
creating movements secretly. Whereas if it's out in the open and you get to discuss it, you can hopefully change that person's mind if you have a good argument.
Yeah.
So surely if you encourage discussion, the best arguments with the best logic will win in the end.
Oh yeah.
But you're not going to win by saying, hey, half of the people who have opinions, you're not allowed to speak.
Yeah,
You
the
know.
best way is try to use a good opinion to fight back,
Sure.
not just to silence them.
And it's arrogance, right? Because can you guarantee that every time you think you're right, you actually are right? No, because you might be wrong some of the time, even if it's 10% of the time. But then you don't have the other side having a voice. So now your 10% that's wrong, no one calls it out. What happens if that 10% causes some bigger problem later on? So I don't get how any of this makes any sense. I don't know what you guys think, but for me, it's just like this, the world we're going to create is a world where everyone is scared to talk.
Yeah.
Everyone's worried about words. And then people don't realize that just because they're not coming for you today doesn't mean that next week they won't be coming for you.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Oh.
words change.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Because lots of people think, oh, it's not my business. It's just like really far away. Maybe we know, but doesn't really care. But
Sure.
it's only happened when it happens on you.
Sure, and that's when all of a sudden you give a shit and you start caring about it. And you say, oh, what's happening to me? Yeah, well, you did it to others first, right?
Yeah.
Just like last week, I mentioned about the first one podcast in Taiwan, right? Good Eye. He started to talk about the quarantine rule recently
Yeah.
because he really go through all of the procedure and he feels so bad. So he tried to make it louder. But before, he just thinking, he's like, he have the distance with those things. So it's just, I know there's not, there's some cancel culture or no, or they feel something wrong, but they are really like pissed off. But it's when they really think, I need to fight with that. I need to warn people. It's only when they have been through all of this.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, like if you look at what happened to Joe Rogan, the thing
Yeah.
that kills me
Oh.
is that the majority of the people who seem to be complaining about him had never watched him.
I agree.
You know, they're just tribal and they just hear something and then they jump on it. Like, if you don't know the facts, there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know.
But
I'm
I think
reserving my judgment.
They stigmatize him though, because I mean, he looks like what we call in Canada a meathead, right? So somebody who's kind of in shape. He shoots guns. So you put someone into sort of a category.
But
And
I thought that
seems-
these are the people who are complaining about categories.
You mean the liberals?
Yeah, they're the ones saying, "Oh, racism, oh, this." Like they don't want these categories, right?
Well,
now
they
they're
love
doing
putting
it to someone
they
else.
love putting people into these categories.
Yeah, so like, reserve your judgment. If you don't know, and you don't have a time to watch, say, "I don't know." You know, don't say, well, I'm going to support something without information. There's a word for that. It's called stupid.
I don't want to circle back again because I know we've finished talking about cancel culture, but I mean, people are canceled without being, there's no proof.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's happening all the time. And then again, what's happening?
I think there's a battery problem here. But anyway, let's continue.
All right. Well, I'll check it in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, anyway, this is a pretty interesting thing to talk about, right? And I wanted to show one more example. So, Neil, this is actually going to come from your country.
Okay.
And you can watch and have a listen to it. And while it's playing, I'll see if I can check that battery problem.
All right.
In terms of the financial instruments which our government is using right now to act against these illegal blockades and illegal occupation, we reviewed very, very carefully the tools at the disposal of the federal government. And we used all the tools that we had prior to the invocation of the Emergencies Act, and we determined that we needed some additional tools. Now, some of those tools, we will be putting forward measures to put those tools permanently in place. The authorities of FinTrack, I believe, do need to be expanded to cover crowdsourcing platforms and payment platform and their payment providers. So that is something that we need to do, and we will do, and that needs to be in place permanently. Some of these other tools, like the sharing of information between law enforcement and financial services, and the requirement of financial services to be reviewing their accounts proactively, and the immunity from prosecution that we have provided to them in doing this. These are extraordinary measures that we absolutely believe are necessary in the current circumstances, that are having an impact, and let me also point out, having a peaceful impact. And the other aspect of the financial tools that I would point to as being really effective and important is being clear that insurance on trucks that participate in these illegal occupations and blockades will be suspended. So we didn't have those tools. I don't believe that those tools should be part of the toolbox of a government in ordinary times, but they are necessary in these extraordinary circumstances, and they are having a very clear impact.
So, Neil, you're from Canada, right? So what did you think of that video?
It sounds like she's beating around the bush.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, basically, they're trying to squash dissent by using the financial system.
Sure.
So, for example, if you have for example, I have some retirement, when I was working in Canada, I have some retirement savings in Canada, and that's being threatened, based on, based on what I think or what I do.
Or what you believe.
What I believe.
Sure. But again, we're talking about cancel culture. So isn't this cancel culture?
In a way, yes.
It's if you think or say or believe or do the wrong thing, we're going to exclude you from society.
Oh.
Yeah.
And basically what you can say from this is that the financial system in Canada was weaponized against the citizens.
Yes.
They turned it into a weapon.
They did.
But I want to just keep going back every time to what we said in the beginning, the question that I proposed to everybody, right? Which is, what world are we creating? Because you must agree that one of the things, like Abby, like you have money in your wallet. Why is it valuable to you?
Because I can buy things, I can exchange the service.
Because you believe that somebody else is also going to find value in that piece of paper.
Yeah, they
and
also
when you give it
believe
to them, they'll give you something that you want, right?
Yes.
So the whole idea is trust.
Yeah, this
Trust,
about
right?
the currency system.
But now in Canada, I think they made such a mistake by doing this, right? Because they've just shown people that, hey, listen, you can't trust. I mean, this used to be the core thing, the trust in the banks. You worked hard, you got your money, you put it in the bank, it was safe. Unless some crazy thing happened, it was safe.
Yeah.
But now they're showing you, listen, you don't agree with us? Sorry, your money's not safe. So what world are we creating? And then what is currently being developed in the world right now? CDBCs, or CBDCs, central bank digital currencies.
Oh, yes.
Do you guys know much about this?
But I think it's a try to make a big government, global government.
Well, it's trying to make the central bank has their own currency that's a cryptocurrency. But let me tell you some of the things about these. They will be programmable currencies. You can program the currency, if you wanted to lose money over time or gain money over the time, like interest. You can say this money can only be used for specific goods and services or at specific places. You can have programmable payments. They can punish people by just taking the money directly away from you.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think that's what China do, right?
It sounds like what China does. I'm
Social
not sure,
credit
but
system,
Yeah.
right?
Social credit
Yeah,
system.
and then you add the vaccine mandate and the passport to that. So now your money is connected to your vaccination status and the beliefs that you have. And you supported the truckers.
Have you guys ever seen the clip where it's very difficult to find on YouTube, but where Justin Trudeau, before he became president of Canada, he said that he admires the Chinese government.
Yes, I have seen that one. Yeah, but actually, I have another one. Where's my telephone? I have this here. You're just gonna have to bear with me because it's not on the computer. But this is really, really strange when you see this video, and I'll hold it up to the camera so Neil, you'll be able to see it as well.
Okay.
If I can find it. Yeah, I think this is it. It's only 36 seconds long, but you can have a look.
For fundamental human rights, according to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. When governments do not protect their citizens' rights, everyone ends up paying. That's the lesson that I certainly hope that this settlement will lead to future governments understanding. You cannot systematically, repeatedly, deliberately ignore charter rights of any citizen.
Right. I mean,
Sounds like he's never read the Charter of Rights and Freedoms of Canada.
or it sounds like he's made a complete flip-flop.
Yeah.
Like he used to say one thing, and now all of a sudden he's doing something different, and now he's gone completely against. And it's not just with him, man. I mean, you go look at some of the stuff that Boris Johnson said in the past. He's also done a complete flip-flop. So my question, let's go back right to it again. What world are we creating? Okay, because I showed you guys earlier, like right in the beginning, about the medical one, about the, what do we say? So there was a guy who got censored on Facebook because he's talking about vaccine trial problems, right? And then there was that Spanish guy who was talking about vaccine safety issues. And now, recently, this comes out. Pfizer quietly adds language warning that unfavorable preclinical, or safety data may impact their business. So they've been adding language, into their projections and into their financial documents, saying that it looks like they might have problems with the quality of preclinical, clinical, or safety data. That sounds like the same thing to me. And then have a look here. This is Reuters. Pfizer drops their India vaccine application after regulators seek a local trial. So Pfizer said on Friday that it had withdrawn an application for emergency use authorization of the COVID-19 vaccine in India after failing to meet the drug regulators' demand for a local safety and immunogenicity study.
So why would they do that?
Again, because I think from what I understand, and we can have a look at it a bit here. Let me find it for you. Pfizer had sought an exception, citing approvals it had received elsewhere, based on trials done in countries such as the United States and Germany. But Indian health guys wanted to do their own study. Oh, okay, we're pulling out.
What's wrong with that?
I don't understand it. Right in here, critics outraged by FDA requests to hide Pfizer vaccine data for 55 years. Pfizer wanted to release the safety data 55 years later. And before this, it was 75 years. And then it got brought down to 55. So what is it that these guys want?
So 55 years later,
They'll release the information.
but I mean, hopefully I'll still be alive by then, but I mean, probably I won't.
Yeah.
So, that's, again, squashing dissent.
Sure. But also, it's, what kind of world? That's where I keep going. What kind of world are we creating where these guys, there were people warning, there were people saying, have a look at this, and they got cancelled. And then, just like we did in our video the other day, now it starts coming out.
Oh, you mean like what we talk about is cancelled before, but now it's
No,
like
it's true.
yeah,
But what was cancelled was doctors, were guys who are professionals who are saying, hey, listen, pay attention here. This doesn't look right with safety. And they're cancelled.
just like go back to 1 year ago, you think those doctors, they shouldn't be cancelled, right? They should have a channel or something, some platform to talk about it.
Sure. So, I mean, all this stuff should be discussed. Everybody's opinion, especially if you're some kind of an expert, should be discussed. But now we cancel people whose opinions don't align with the establishment narrative.
But I know it's like really dangerous for them, for their career. Like Dr. Maron, I remember when he said something bad about the mRNA vaccine, he got some people like questioned about his scholarship.
And he got deleted from Wikipedia.
Yeah, he got deleted. And I think also his social media account is also like banned.
Yeah, he got banned from Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's the guy who helped create the technology.
Yeah. He's got 9 patents on the mRNA vaccine.
So, I mean, if you think about it, right, it doesn't really make sense. I'm having a look at another one. There's a liver and DNA, and what else am I looking for? Because recently something came out which is talking about the vaccines, and that when the vaccines go into your liver, they become DNA.
They become part of your DNA.
Yeah, let's see. If liver, I'm not searching this very well. See, liver vaccines become DNA. Sweden. There's a study here. So, here it is here. It's a YouTube video, so we look for something that's not YouTube. But this is the thing that's been coming out, that the Pfizer vaccine becomes DNA in liver cells. And the reason to mention this is because for months, people were saying this will never happen.
Yeah, let's say there's a conspiracy theory.
It was a conspiracy theory. Now it's coming true. I'm not saying it's true, YouTube. I'm just saying it now. It looks like it's coming out that it could be true. So shouldn't we have looked and listened to the people who said it in the beginning instead of labeling them conspiracy theorists?
Because, like a government, Taiwanese government, they also have a rule, say if you spray all of fake information, like misinformation, you're going to be fined. I think it's a big money. So mRNA going to change your DNA is also one of the fake news.
Oh, it was fake news, but now it's coming out, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, this possibly might mean that if your DNA is changed, you now pass that on to your kids.
Oh.
So that was why people... I'm not sure, again, YouTube, I'm not a doctor, I'm just talking about what I've read, but that seems to be
crazy.
the thing.
Like if your children, they didn't have any vaccine, but they probably gonna just still have the same side effect.
It might create a separate species of human, because if a whole group of people have a DNA change and the rest who didn't have it don't, we're now going to be different and pass that on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe we're gonna have alien.
We're turned into aliens, right?
You know what I read today was that in Canada, my parents moved from the capital, which is Ottawa, to Calgary. And I read that 86% of, this is what I read, of children 5 years and up are now vaccinated. And I'm really shocked to hear about that.
Yeah, especially when it doesn't look like children face much issues.
This is the thing.
So it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But again, this is the world that we're living in, right? We talked about through this cancel culture, do what we say, put what we tell you into your body. If you don't agree, or if you then like in Canada, protest or support the protest, will deny you access to society, will stop you from getting your money, will stop you from getting health insurance, all these different things. Stop you. I've seen in New Zealand as well, like if you don't pay the fines for COVID, they have the right to take your property and sell it, take your salary, take money out your bank account, stop you from getting loans in the future, and stop you from leaving the country.
Yeah.
So is this where cancel culture is taking us? It looks like it.
Yeah.
And then again, back to the question, is that the world you want to live in? Or if you have kids, you want your kids living in that kind of world?
Oh, I think there's going to be, people are now starting to rise up against it.
I hope so. I hope you're right, because I haven't seen enough of it. I saw some of it in Canada. Let's hope it continues.
Yeah, it started with the truckers.
Yeah, but they seem to be very good at creating distractions so that people stop focusing on these things, and then people just leave it.
But what they do now in Canada is they're labeling, the left is labeling truckers as white supremacists and racists. Misogynists. Do we need to explain those for the Taiwanese audience, I guess?
No.
I think people kind of catch
people
it,
get
right?
it.
Yeah. But you know why, though? I mean, come on. They hold unfavorable views.
Yeah, exactly. So just label them as racist or misogynist, and then, they're evil.
Sure, but again, that's not exactly cancel culture, but that's what is the call with the words, right? It's political correctness in a way. It's related to that, right? There are these terminologies that are just not right. If you get called one, it's a great strategy. If you think about it, the nefarious people who are behind all of this kind of shit, what a great strategy.
Yes, it is. I have to give it to the left. It's a good strategy, and it's working.
Yeah.
Well, I think it works short term. Long term, it eats itself. It's like a snake eating its own tail, because eventually it comes for these people.
Back.
There was this one black woman in America who made a lot of homophobic tweets. At the time she did it, no, it wasn't homophobic. Sorry, it was anti-Asian tweets.
Oh.
And at the time she did it, that was kind of acceptable. But then later on, a few months later, they dug up the tweets, and then she got cancelled.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it eventually comes back, right?
So I wonder, do we need to be careful what we say right now?
Well, I think that part of the problem with a lot of people is apologizing. I think if you haven't done something wrong, and if your intent wasn't negative, don't fucking apologize.
Yeah.
Because once you apologize,
do apologies work anymore?
No. Once you apologize, they come for you even more. So the best way is to just say, hey, you know what? Whatever, right?
Yeah.
So again, the world we're going to is a world where it looks like doctors are not going to warn people. Scientists are going to be too scared to talk about anything. That will not lead to progress for people. Let's talk one more. Global warming. Maybe you believe it, maybe you don't. But recently, I think Google and YouTube said that they will not monetize any websites or channels that say it might not be real. What if? Just imagine it isn't real. And what happens if global cooling is coming? And there are lots of scientists who believe that. Cooling is way worse for people than warming.
Yeah.
Because we can't grow food and all sorts of shit, right? And what happens if we are completely unprepared because no one's hearing that message, which a lot of scientists believe, and then we're really not prepared for it and we really suffer. Just if. It's a big if. Everyone should be able to talk about these things. All scientists, they should debate. There's a guy on Rogan the other day.
I was just going to mention.
Who said, and he asked
Randall
him.
Carlson?
I forget who it was, and he asked him, like, will you debate climate change? The guys who don't believe in climate change? No, won't debate them. He's like, the science is settled.
But it's not settled.
It's not.
No.
Yeah. It's like we said that being able to burn the flag is a representation of how free you are. I would say your ability to question the science is a representation of how well science is working, because science is about questioning. Science is about one guy who goes against 100,000 and he's right, and he has that ability to question, and that's how we get somewhere. Not by silencing that guy and calling him a racist.
Yeah.
Right, should we move to the next segment?
Oh,
I think so,
okay,
right?
cool.
Yeah. All right, good job.